Indigenous Peoples Movement is hosting today a day of empathy. Some of you might recall a couple of years ago, before COVID, we hosted a day of empathy in the Black Hills of South Dakota in conjunction with Cut 50, which now also includes Dream Corps. And the purpose of the Day of Empathy is to humanize those brothers and sisters who've been targeted. Really, we've been targeted all the way from the time of slavery to the times when people were breaking free from those chains, to the times of genocide and a forced confinement on what are called Indian reservations. When that happened, there was something called the Court of Indian Offenses. There were whole court systems set up for when you were an Indian, if you expressed your indigeneity, if you went into a sweat lodge, if you spoke your traditional language, if you did a giveaway ceremony or a potlatch ceremony or any other ceremony that helps us express what we are and helps us tell who we are, you were straight up arrested for that and put inside of a jail. So there's these legacies of criminalizing indigeneity. For the Day of Empathy, we want to recognize that this country, the United States, has more than 2.4 million prisoners locked up today. Those are human beings who've been marginalized, who've been dehumanized, upon whom private prison profit has soared, not to mention the indigenous children in cages at the United States and Mexico colonial border. Just because Biden gave those indigenous children slightly better confinement spaces doesn't mean that they still should not be freed. And I saw a news blast today that they are trying to reunite those children with their families. Indigenous peoples also suffered forced separation from our families. We have political prisoners. Maybe I mentioned political prisoners too soon last time, so we got cut off. We've got people who are doing time for non-violent drug offenses because cannabis, the sacred medicine, which was classified as a Schedule I controlled substance, there are hundreds of thousands of black, brown, indigenous, or otherized people who are doing time for being cannabis entrepreneurs. Right now, while the same well-capitalized people of European American descent are now poised to make record profits in this industry that we are literally still doing time for. So in this show, we want people to remember why we're in this situation that we're in, to take an assessment, an accurate, a truthful assessment about when slavery officially ended, chattel slavery, when the 13th Amendment was passed. But if you read the 13th Amendment, it says slavery shall be outlawed except in the instance of criminal justice. So if you commit a crime, and a lot of times the people that commit crimes, we just kind of explored how indigenous people have been targeted. That's not even to say anything about alcohol being introduced to the reservation, meth, opioids, crack cocaine into the inner cities by the same organizations that have now taken responsibility for assassinating Malcolm X. The day of empathy goes deep, and it has mainstream support from the creators and organizers of Cut 50, including Van Jones, including Meek Mill. And I want to thank Yanajaha Lone Wolf, and I want to send up a voice for her. If we could all kind of keep her in our strength. I know she's watching right now, and it's our honor to be able to host this, our privilege. I only wish we could do this in person, but I wanted to just give some introductory remarks because this is a very, very significant day. It's a day that we are able to ask our panel participants to share their story, share how they're connected to perhaps contacts with the criminal justice system, what they've done to survive that. I know I myself have been behind those bars, I've been behind those walls, and I barely survived probation because of some of my substance abuse problems a long time ago. I just want to send a word of encouragement out to everybody who is struggling and has somebody who's locked up. If you take a look at our demographics at Black and Indigenous communities, those communities that have been targeted by poverty, it's not an accident that there is a legal, political, and economic oppression of our people. And we're just now kind of entering a phase where we can tell the truth amongst each other. People are ready for that. So I really want to thank everybody for tuning in. Sorry we had that little glitch in the beginning, but I want to open it up to the panel, and if each panelist could introduce themselves before you share whatever it is that you want to share. But I want to thank Ruth Buffalo from the North Dakota State Legislature. It's been a long time. I want to turn the mic over to you, Ruth, so you can introduce yourself and share your story.
Sure. Madsagirads, thank you in the Hiradza language. Doshadzi, Mada Nakwaga O, Madashi, Mia Adashheads, Mabe Sigids, Madzigirads Nakwaga O. It's an honor to be here with you virtually. My name is Ruth Buffalo. I am a citizen of the Mandan, Hiradza, and Arikara Nation, and I am originally from Mandaree. I grew up there. I grew up on the Fort Berthold Indian Reservation, which is located on the western side of North Dakota. And currently I am I'm in my sophomore year of my first 4-year term serving in the state legislature here in North Dakota, representing District 27. My background as it relates to this topic is both personal and professional. I do have a bachelor's of science in criminal justice and a lot of lived experience with relatives who have been in the criminal justice system. And I echo the words that Chase had mentioned. You know, it reminded me of years and years and years of poor policy. And we have an opportunity through policy to really improve the so yeah, I'm honored to be here and share a few words of how I'm connected to this topic and what I've been doing in the state legislature and throughout community work in trying to help our relatives who have been targeted and who are sitting behind bars to this day. There was a lot of things that we did earlier in the pandemic to try to help various people from across the country receive the help they needed while they were sitting doing time, especially helping others with compassionate care release. And also locally, I receive a lot of correspondence from different tribal members across the state in seeking assistance for how to best navigate the criminal justice system as a Native American individual living in North Dakota. So I'll end there for now. Maadzigirads, thank you.
So Jacob or Diana, maybe we can do that if just take a couple minutes to introduce yourself and say, you know, whatever you want to say for a couple minutes, and then we'll go into some questioning.
Hi, my name is Diana Dakota. I am a member of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa in Turtle Mountain in Belcourt, North Dakota. I I was part of the assimilation back in the 1960s, so I was born in Oakland, and of course, with probably most natives, we returned back to our land on the reservation. So I did grow up here. I did go to school here. I went on to get my Bachelor of Science in Education and started my master's in uh, an education program as well. I've been teaching since 1982, since the age of 23, and I still teach today. I teach in the Turtle Mountain Middle School in my hometown in Belcourt, and I have a couple connections actually to the criminal justice. And what I'm going to talk about today is it concerns my brother who just recently was incarcerated and actually died in the Cass County Jail in Fargo, North Dakota. So that's primarily what I was asked to do today. Uh, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad I was asked, and I'll be sharing that.
Wow, thank you for joining us from the Turtle Mountains.
You're welcome.
Brother Jacob.
Yeah. So hello everybody. I'm Jacob Martin. I'm a member of the Oglala Sioux tribe here in Pioneer, South Dakota. I was born in Pioneer, South Dakota. I grew up here in Rapid City. I lived here most of my life. Graduated high school here in Rapid City at Stevens High School. I went on to go to school at United Tribes Technical College for a year and a half. And then I came back home. That was the moment I've been incarcerated. And then I came back home and did another year or a half a semester for schooling at OLC. I'm 22 years old. I ain't got much experience as everybody else, so I don't really have much else to say. I appreciate my auntie Unajaha for asking me to come on here and be a part of this today. Yeah.
All right. Well, just think about what we'll do is we'll go to Ruth, and then we'll just go in that same order. Then we'll go to Diana, and then we'll come back to you, Jacob. Just think about, and I'll ask each panelist a similar question. But if you could, we just want to hear of how, you might have had contact with the criminal justice system. I know it sucks actually to kind of think about those times and those days, how you survived, and what just anything that you'd like to share for the listening audience, who might not know what it's like to have contact with the criminal justice system, or to have relatives who are maybe incarcerated, or causing some strife for you or the family. But Ruth, I know that as a state legislature, or your role in the state legislature, there's certain things that you probably have done, that you've tried to do, and I know that our states are very conservative. I guess we could just say that. They're tough states to be progressive in, that's for sure. But if you'd like to talk about some of the things you've done, or how you're connected to the criminal justice system, I would like to give you the space to do that.
Sure. Thank you for the question. And as you stated, it is a very, what they would call a red state in North Dakota. In our state legislature, there's a House and a Senate. And so there's 14 of us on the House side, 14 Dem NPLers, or Democratic Nonpartisan Leaguers, out of 94. And then on the Senate side, there's 47 senators, because we have 47 legislative districts, and each legislative district gets one Senate seat and 2 House seats. And so on the Senate side, we're down to 7. Last year, I believe we had 10, so we lost 3 senators in this recent election cycle. So we're a very small representation within the state legislature. My freshman year, I was able to get a number of bills passed that kind of intertwined with the criminal justice system, but mainly in wanting to hold predators and hold looking for accountability, but addressing the gaps within our criminal justice system when we look at saving lives and really protecting our communities. So there was a number of bills that went forward that focused on missing and murdered Indigenous people. Originally it was women, but we changed it to people to include all genders. So there was a law enforcement training bill that went forward and is now law as of August 1st, 2019. Also one focusing on data collection on missing people. Prior to this, there was no data being collected at all, period, in the state of North Dakota for missing people. And then 2 other bills focused on human trafficking prevention and awareness for hotels and schools. And then another one for to allow our high school graduates who are Native to wear eagle feather, eagle plume during their high school graduation. And then a resolution urging Congress to pass the Savannah's Act, and then a comprehensive study looking at the intersection between MMIP and human trafficking cases. And so still, that's not the be all end all, but it was a small step forward to addressing a larger issue. And so when we look at the criminal justice system, and I know the ACLU of South Dakota came out with a report a couple years or so ago of the disproportionate overrepresentation of Native Americans in the criminal justice system in South Dakota, pretty similar to North Dakota. If you look at even our foster care system or juvenile justice system, every governmental jail, county, city, in the federal prison, state prisons, our Native population were overrepresented, which is, it's hard to understand for me as a sophomore legislator now, when we did put forth a bill to address hate and bias crimes, and that received a do not pass recommendation in our House Judiciary Committee, and then it died swiftly, I guess you could say, on the House floor. So if it dies on the House floor, it means it's done. It doesn't get to proceed over to the Senate side for further revisions or amendments. So that's kind of something I've been working on recently, is trying to help protect our communities. But just in saying that, I see a lot of disparities. You know, we're very quick to shut down bias crimes or hate crime bills that would help protect BIPOC people, especially, or people of all races, genders, backgrounds, sexual orientation, disabilities, but yet we still have a disproportionate overrepresentation of BIPOC people in our jail system. So I'm still trying to understand, why are we the only ones that see that as a problem? Or why does this continue, and how can we best address this issue moving forward? Of course, we need bipartisan support. And there has been efforts done here locally in North Dakota, you know, for criminal justice reform, but many people have told me it still scratches the surface and doesn't apply to the people who need it the most. People of low income, you know, Black, Indigenous, people of color. We don't have money readily available to hire a good lawyer. Oftentimes we have to refer to court-appointed attorneys, and as it is, they've openly stated they're stretched thin. You know, they have huge workloads. There's a shortage of court-appointed attorneys in North Dakota. And so where does that leave BIPOC people, Black and Indigenous people of color? Well, it leaves them really, oftentimes they're having to just sign plea agreements or to get out of jail. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and we need more law advocates or legal advocates. You know, during this pandemic, I'll just say this real quick and end and turn it over to the next speaker. But during this pandemic, I was able to sit in on a court hearing through Zoom because it was, you know, the pandemic. And just an individual contacted me and said, I need help. Will you come to court with me via Zoom? And so they asked the judge, and I was able to sit in on a court hearing. And just being in that space I don't know if it made a difference, but I think it did, just being in that space, being present as a Native American advocate for someone that I just met, you know, via Zoom in the court hearing. And so we need more of that, I believe, in every different system. We need more advocates, and we need more legal advocates. So
Yeah, thank you for that. As an attorney in Indian country, I know like people hit me up constantly, and it's partly because of where I grew up and what my socioeconomic demographic is as well. And I know we're targeted because it's every other week there's a cousin or something going through some legal battle. And Billy Joe Behealer, who's one of our colleagues, she mentioned on Instagram that, you know, our people are run through the foster care system, the juvenile justice system, and they're ending up in the prison system. So that's those stats track what I'm familiar with here in Rapid City, South Dakota, where 12% of Rapid's population is Native, but if you go to Pennington County Jail, 54% of the people in there are Native. And Jacob can probably attest to this. You might want to think about, you know, some of those confrontations or those opportunities that you've had to interact with local law enforcement. You know, they know they have a problem. Statewide, I think 10% of we're 10% of the state population, but more than 50% of the women prisoners are Native, and 33% of the male prisoners are Native. And with foster care, 10 to 12% of all children in South Dakota are Native, but 54% in state custody are Native, which those are just grotesque statistics. But keep those in mind. Diana, if you could just mic yourself in, and if you could share with us what you went through in your situation, that would be good.
Okay, so it may not be exactly related to the criminal justice system, but I'll talk about what happened in the jail with my brother, if you don't mind. So to humanize this, if you will, I'm going to I want to show a picture of my brother. This is my brother. He was the youngest of 8 children. He was a father. He was a brother. 7 siblings. He left behind 4 children. He left behind his mother and his father. He was a U.S. veteran. He served our country for 4 years. He enlisted in the United States Army when he was 20 years old. He served at home as a paratrooper, and then he spent 2 years in Korea. And when he came back from Korea, he wasn't the same person. The Army did something to him. He fell on hard times. When he returned from home, he came back from Korea, and he married the love of his life. Together they had four children. His oldest just turned 16. His youngest just turned 7. My brother called 911 on the night of December 17th, about 3 in the morning. He called the Cass County Sheriff's Office and said he was suicidal. And when they arrived at his apartment was bloodstained. And he was immensely intoxicated. His blood level, his alcohol level was near death. And he was taken to Essentia Health in Fargo. And they looked at him for 11 minutes and they released him to the Cass County Jail. We were told by Sheriff John in the Cass County Jail that he was checked on every 15 minutes. He stayed there through the night. They got him up in the morning. He had to appear before the judge on an iPad, legally intoxicated. His blood alcohol was still almost a 0.2. And they said they kept checking on him during the day, that he had no signs of distress. They didn't see anything. They didn't offer medical help. The nurse refused to see him because he was intoxicated. And about 5 p.m. on December 18th, they found him on the floor. And they did their next check, and he was already gone. He bled to death. And we knew from looking at it in his apartment that there was blood all over. And why the cops didn't take note of that was one of our big questions. Why Essential only kept him for 11 minutes was one of our big questions. Why Cass County Jail didn't get him the medical attention that he needed was another one of our questions that still haven't been answered. They try to answer it, but we're not satisfied with what they provided us with. We know there's more to the story. They say they checked on him every 15 minutes, but there's a lot of unknowns. Their cameras don't have sound, so we don't know what was said to him and what he said back to the attendants that were checking on him, supposedly every 15 minutes. We didn't find out until 5 hours after he passed that he passed. Cass County Jail called the Bureau of Indian Affairs in my hometown in Belcourt at Turtle Mountain and told the Turtle Mountain officer there, and he knocked on my door at 9:30 at night and told me my brother passed away in the Cass County Jail. I don't think anybody deserves to be treated that way. He needed medical attention and not incarceration at that point. And like I said, my brother fell on hard times. He was an alcoholic. He was in the Cass County Jail many times for alcohol-related issues. And they knew him there. At Ascension Hospital knew him. Someone didn't do their job. He shouldn't have died. He shouldn't have bled to death. They could have stopped it. Had he gotten the medical attention instead of being incarcerated. And then my brother talked about being incarcerated before, and I have heard from other people, in particularly the Cass County Jail is known for their mistreatment of Native and people of color. And I've heard stories, and I've heard testimonials from others that have verified that. And my family is going to seek answers. We're not going to just take their word for it, either Essentia or Cass County.
Diana, I want to thank you for sharing that. I did not know, I was not aware of your brother, your family member there, but it's similar to the case of Sarah Circle Bear, and I'm sure people who are listening also have these instances where, because sometimes the police force, sometimes the medical personnel, just because of their predispositions and their attitudes toward Native people, your brother needed medical attention. He didn't need to be taken to a jail, but I've seen that through my professional experience as well. Not just medical neglect, but officers in this city where my office is, where my studio is, shooting Native people. Alan Locke was shot 5 times in his chest in front of his family, just because police officers are scared of natives. They're scared of black people, black men who've been villainized and given this certain predisposition, this assumed predisposition, this stereotype that we're violent. Paul Castaway, same thing in Denver, Colorado, and I don't remember the brother's name in North Dakota. His last name might be Dragswolf. I'm not quite 100% on the name there, but I do want to give Jacob, again, thank you, Diana, for sharing that. We want to hold you and your family in our thoughts and in our strength, and hope that you can continue to pursue resolve for that. Jacob, if you want to unmute yourself, if you have anything to share about growing up in Rapid City, what was that like? Did you have interactions with the criminal justice system, any of your friends, that sort of thing? If anything you heard here kind of like spurred your thoughts, we just want you to share them, brother.
Okay. Yeah. I've experienced personally involvements with the criminal justice system when I did get in trouble for the first time. It was just the excessive use of force, on me personally. It was life changing for me. Like, it doesn't seem like a big deal, seeing things like that on TV, seeing things like that in movies, compared to real life. Like it's traumatizing. Like it gives me anxiety, like thinking about it sometimes, and then being in the prison as well. They purposely mentally want to break you down. And I just, it really frustrated me, because doing those things to, not just, our people, but everybody, there's no way that people are being healed in any way, shape, or form for us to do better in society or as a person, for not only ourselves, but our surroundings, putting us through things like that. And, being inside there, I've tried asking for treatment, and I've been, like, with my case, it was a non-violent case, and I wasn't accepted for the help because I wasn't a violent offender. There was one counselor, he was a re-entry teacher here at the unit in Rapid City, and he went out of his way to a meeting and brought it up personally to the head person about me not getting treatment for my mental issues. My grandfather passed away while I was incarcerated, and he was practically a father figure for me, growing up, my support system, like he was my rock. And when I was mentally broken, I couldn't eat, I couldn't get out of bed. Um, I was put in a turtle suit in a single cell, you know. Um, it was a lot for me, you know, and to this day, you know, it's hard. But um you know, it's just not right. Um for any, you know, I mean, there's certain reasons, you know, people have to go through that, but you know, I never was in trouble. I was a straight A student all the way through high school. I, you know, was involvement with multiple sports. Um, I won state high jump my senior year. I went on to play college basketball on scholarship. And then, you know, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people. I was young, and, you know, the judge straight up said, you know, I'm gonna do you a favor. I'm gonna give you 10 years and I'm gonna suspend 8. So you won't be doing time in bars, but you will learn your lesson in the long run. And it just, you know, I wasn't given a chance. I had character letters from multiple people in the city, principals from, I went to both Central and high school. I had, you know, character letters from both principals from schooling. You know, I was working. Like I said, I was involved in the community. I was doing community, you know, I was doing a lot of things that were good. Not only for myself, but for my surroundings. You know, I have a little brother that looked up to me, and, you know, I just felt like I wasn't given the chance. I feel like anybody would deserve in life. You know, there was a thing that was said to me by my grandfather. You know, a person's worst mistake doesn't define the person as a whole. You know, and it always stuck with me because the people in power in the prison system, in the criminal justice system, they abuse it in ways that, you know, we can't defend ourselves in. And it's very frustrating, because with all the time, you know, they gave me on paper and everything, it feels like they, you know, they still got me in chains. You know, I feel like, you know, I'm still stuck in the system daily because I have to always go back to what I did. And in every way I have to go back and think about what I did it's no treatment, you know. There's no treatment in it. There's nothing that's helping me, you know, really get myself ready for the society, you know, of this world. And it's just, it was really hard for me, mentally. Like I said, that was a big thing for me, the mental breakdown that they do to you. It really humbled me. I matured a lot, though. You know, I took a lot of great things out of it too. I grew a lot, you know, as a person. Yeah, like it was hard, but I truly believe in, you know, the man above doesn't, you know, he doesn't, he puts the strongest people through the toughest times. And, you know, I survived it. I don't, you know, I wouldn't say I can't survive it again, but, you know, that's just something I don't think anybody else needs to be going through, you know, in a way of healing us as a whole. Yeah.
I appreciate that, Jacob. It's extremely difficult and traumatizing to have to go through some of those things. Even just being confined changes your whole outlook on life, finding ways to cope with that pressure. It's I know what, I'm not on paper, but I know what you mean. When I see cop lights, and when I hear the radio, when I hear that little scanner sound, there's trauma there because it's a trigger. It's something that you're not even thinking of. You're not even conscious of it, but something has happened that triggers that traumatic response. And it's just important that you continue to seek healing, spiritual strength, and every day, just show up every day. I barely made it through 3 years of probation, and I had to like skip out and just, I had to extract myself from my bro network, you know what I mean? And just because I was having problems back then. But thank you for sharing that, because there's a lot of people who are either going through that, or they have relatives or loved ones who are in that situation, and they need to be able to see that there's people staying strong through it. So thank you for that. Ruth, if you guys, I'll give each person kind of an opportunity just to give some not closing remarks, but things that you might have forgot about, things that you wanted to add to the discussion, because it has, I want to thank Diana and Jacob for offering that. I did not pre-interview you guys. I didn't know what anything, but that's real talk right there. And you guys just stay strong, stay with it. We have to show up for each other and not label each other. Jacob's right. As soon as you get that mark on you, it's hard to like even see yourself as not that convict or not that criminal, because from the time one of my clients, they're trying to take his kid away on some crazy stuff that the white boys probably wouldn't even be hailed into court for. Joyriding some golf carts, trying to declare this young boy a juvenile delinquent, take him from his father. Like, there is not anything worse that they could do. But our people are, we that's just like the norm for us. Where we come from, we see people, oh, so-and-so is going to the pen. So-and-so is doing 90 days. You know what I mean? Like we can't continue to normalize that stuff, but only we can change that. It is within ourselves. So I want to thank you for sharing that, and I want to pass the mic to Ruth. If you want to add anything that I might have left out.
Sure. Just want to echo your words too, and say thank you to Diana and Jacob, for sharing your part of your stories with us. And my heart's with you and your families. And the common theme that's really resonating with me too is the healing component that is so needed, and that oftentimes is intentionally blocked. I think a lot of these systems that we navigate through intentionally do try to prevent us from healing. And so I just want to say thank you for taking courage and sharing with us your story and the strength that you have, and continue to know that we're here for you and we support you. I have an elder relative that's in federal prison, and that's a big traumatic event too, as in and of itself. To have a loved one behind bars and knowing the story and the gaps within the system, I believe. And so just want to offer whatever strength I can at this time to you, and sending you lots of love, and thinking of our incarcerated relatives who are behind bars right now, and praying that they make it out alive. So Madzigirads, thank you.
Thank you for that, Ruth. There's almost no way of approaching the magnitude of what what we're going through, what we're attached to. We think that just because I didn't go to prison, you know, it's not impacting me. But if you just took stock of who in your family has had a run-in with the law, who among your extended family in your family network, you know, might be doing time right now, that stuff impacts, because that's a mother gone or a father removed from their family where they're most needed, or an aunt or an uncle or a grandfather. It's there's really no way to escape those tentacles of those environments that were created to target us. And I also believe that healing is not part of that redemptive process, or what the system would like to see as ways that it was supposed to help people get better, help people be better citizens, help us not recidivate, not go back. Like, our recidivism rates are atrocious. So it's a matter of staying strong every day and finding something that gives you a purpose, gives you a reason to meet the day and greet the day. And so I just, for anybody who's listening, anybody that needs that kind of encouragement, I know what that's like. I've been there. There's people listening I know that have messaged me. Ruben Crowfeather, he's been through that ringer. Henry Gipp, these are just people that I know off the top of my head that I know are listening, and they've been through that, and we need them to survive. Each one of us has to show up for that battle. And I just want to give space to Diana, if you have any closing remarks or anything that you might have forgot, anything that, you know, I didn't ask you or anything like that. I want to give you a chance to just close yourself out like that.
Okay, I guess, you know, not even thinking about it, but healing is a tremendous part. And my family isn't going to heal until we have all of our answers, our questions answered. And right now, what we need resources. We need people to tell us, you know, start here. Start here. Well, I understand it's virtually impossible. I don't know. You might know this, Ruth, to sue a county jail, or to sue a public jail, Cass County Jail, and so a lot of lawyers are not wanting to touch this. I spoke with another lady where her son had passed away in jail in Minot a couple of years ago, and she did find one lawyer in the entire state that took up her case. And so we're looking to start there. And I guess if anybody has any resources out there and can point us in a direction as to where we can start or what we need to do, that would be immensely grateful. We'd be grateful for that. And then Ruth, you mentioned the compassionate care release, and I guess I would like to know more about that too. I've heard of it before. I do have a family member that's incarcerated right now, and I would like to learn more about that. There's so many things that my eyes were open to today during this this forum, and I guess I just really have a lot more questions that I would be seeking answers to.
Okay, thank you for that, Diana, and thank you for sharing that. Jacob, if you have anything, any kind of closing remarks, and if you want to speak again, we're not like on a strict time limit to cut out. I want to give people an opportunity to share, because this is the day of empathy. This is the time, again, if you might just be tuning in, this is an event hosted by Indigenous Peoples Movement in conjunction with Dream Corps and cut 50. It's a day that we, those of us on the outs, can recognize those 2.4 million people, human beings, who are sitting behind bars right now, or who might be on paper, who might have been politically imprisoned. We want to leave a space to remember them and to not forget them, because we are all somehow impacted by the way the criminal justice system has been used and is to this day used to target those members of demographics that didn't fit the bill of the founding fathers of this country. European hetero male property and capital owners. They designed this system to do exactly what it's doing. And we're just now, through our vote, through our frontline activism in protecting water, sacred sites, and Mother Earth, and being criminalized for it all along the way. Right now, there's people in jail because of Line 3, the Trans Mountain Pipeline. I don't know if you saw the Braided Warriors. Check them out on Facebook. We got. Everybody who's in Indigenous country, in the Black Indigenous community, we have to boost each other. We can't spend all of our time being hyper critical of each other, because I know I've been in this space for 8 years, and we do a lot of that, but we just have to brush it to the side and continue on the path that we're meant to be on. I want to thank people for tuning in. But Jacob, we still got you left. If you have anything you need to add or say some closing remarks, we want to invite you to do that at this time. And thank you so much for staying in the fight.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I thank you, everybody that was a part of this. I do want to say I learned one good thing is take it one day at a time, with everything, in life, try to live in the moment as much as possible. And also for the 2.4 million people, our relatives, our people, a letter, a phone, answering the phone call, it goes a long ways. For us, for the people that are in there, it goes a really long ways, picking up a pen and writing a few words. It don't need to be pages. It don't, but people checking in on us, the people that are on the inside, it goes a really long ways for us. It helps them a lot more than you think, to help them get through their day. And yeah, you gotta want to be there for everybody, especially the people that really need the help. So I have a cousin that just got sentenced and is in federal, and it hurts, like you were saying, Chase, it's not only the people on the inside that are going through it, their family, checking in and making sure everybody's, just saying hi, good morning, letting people know, just those little things actually go a lot longer ways than the big materialistic things. And I want everybody to know that, really, it got engraved in my head from my grandfather, and I take it serious. And I just want everyone to know, I thank everybody, who tuned in and watched, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day and everything. And yeah, stay up.
Thanks a lot for that, Jacob. Ruth, did we miss anything? Do you need to make any more remarks? Okay. She's good. It's so good to see you in office, Ruth. I might have left North Dakota by the time you won. So keep pushing, keep doing what you're doing. We all see each other. You know what I mean? So I want to offer nothing but encouragement to everyone out there who's struggling to make it in any way. All the working families in this country, everybody who had to come up out from the bottom, you know what I mean, and is still struggling to stay free. Everybody that Cut 50 and Dream Corps is targeting, those who are locked up right now on nonviolent offenses, on drug offenses, who were targeted as victims of the drug war. Alcohol being pushed into our communities, crack cocaine being pushed into our communities, and then having our cultures glorify that degenerate behavior. It's a powerful mix that impacts us culturally. I know that Cut 50 and Dream Corps can't support our political prisoners, but I would be remiss if I did not mention, especially in light of COINTELPRO and the FBI taking responsibility for assassinating Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, not to mention Pine Ridge during the 70s. Those are real wounds. Those are real things that families have to find a way to live through, to navigate. Assata Shakur is still in exile. Mumia Abu Jamal is still locked up. Leonard Peltier has been doing all of Indigenous people's time for 46 years now. We want to, of course, give mention to those, even to those who aren't with us. Fred Hampton, Judas and the Black Messiah is big now. Just like the Black Panther was big, but we failed to tell the truths about the harsh realities that caused those groups to do what they did. And so I want to take that little bit of space in my closing to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you to Cut 50, to Dream Corps, to Indigenous Peoples Movement. Shout out to Yanajaha. Shout out to Lakota Law, Last Real Indians, everybody who I asked to share this. It's been so good and so real to hear these stories. You can't avoid the impact, the spiritual impact of hearing Diana and Jacob's stories. And I just want to send our strength and our love to you, Diana and Jacob, and anybody else who's listening in who needed to hear what Diana and Jacob or Ruth had to share today. So with that, Lila Wopila Tanka Ichichapalo, thank you for this day of empathy.